I do. Welcome everybody to another episode of Hbtv, the show with your host Harry Bugarin. We have a great episode tonight. My special guest tonight is going to be five-time Emmy nominated Ben Bulatao. A.C.E. I got to put that in at the back of his name. He's going to tell us all about what that acronym is as well. So, again, live with me tonight. Thank you for joining me and taking the time to be with me. As you guys know, we broadcast positive vibes, positive energy, one episode at a time, and tonight is going to be no different. If you haven't already, if this is the first time for you guys to be joining us here on Hbtv, do me that favor, man. Just like, subscribe, share, and hit that little bell, which will give you alerts whenever Hbtv is on. So, this is the second to the last episode of season 2, and Ben is going to share his journey, his experience, and just his passion and his message about what he's gone through and what it takes to be a TV editor. So, without further ado, just help me welcome Mr. Ben Bulatao. Good evening, Ben. How are you? Can you hear me? Oh, let's try that one more time. I think the technical difficulties is coming back again. So one more time, just for the audience. Good
Yeah,
evening, Ben. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy.
Okay, awesome. Well, great to have you here with us, and thank you for taking the time to be here on HBTV, the show. We got a couple people here on the chat, which is great. And at any time, anybody here on the chat would like to ask Mr. Ben Bulatao a question, please let me know. I got my glasses on tonight so I can read what's going down in the chat right here. But we got Mr. AJ here. We got my sister-in-law Agnes, who's always on here, and my wife, who's a great supporter of HBTV, the show, and myself, Sheila. So they're all on here. Everybody, thank you for joining us. But for the people that never met you, Ben,
hmm
and like I say, for the millions who will be watching this episode later down the line, do me a favor and just, that brief 30-second elevator speech of who Ben Bulatao is and what do you do?
Oh shit, that's like it's like being on a Shark Tank.
Yeah.
no, I'm not used to this, but what I am is like I'm a kid from city of Carson who went after his dreams and of being in the entertainment industry, and I got it through being a TV editor. That's my elevator pitch.
That's that's your elevator pitch right there. So not that's cool. And again, I'm broadcasting from my little space here in Carson, California. We are here live with Carson's own, Ben Bulatao. So do me a favor, man. Let walk us through a little bit. We're both from Carson.
Right.
We're kind of in that same time, but you guys are, you and your peers and your friends and all my cousins, and by the way, just for the audience, I've known Ben, since about 1984, 85-ish. But tell me about growing up in this beautiful city of Carson of ours, right? Tell us about that time for you. What was going on? Like I'm gonna say that's gonna be like 10th, 11th grade, during that time at 84, 85. But just bring us back, man. Just bring us back. Like what was Carson about? What was Carson about you, your friends and family?
No, it's interesting. What's great about Carson? Okay, here's the thing. It's like we're both Navy brats,
Mhm.
right? You were Navy. Your dad was in the Navy as well as mine, and we first grew up in the East Coast, and so everyone that we saw was white, and so that was weird. But then, well, actually, it felt normal because that's what I was used to. But then when we came out here to Carson, it was so diverse, and I was like, whoa, wow, this is really different. So growing up in Carson was great because it was just pretty much you pretty much dealt with everyone, like Filipino, Samoan, Mexican, Black, everyone really, even white, like a little bit of white, not too much, but it was definitely I don't know, it just felt like home here. I felt
Mm.
comfortable, growing up in Carson, and I just loved it. I love growing up in Carson, and the cool thing about Carson too is like you kind of grow up with kind of like a street smarts.
Hmm.
Is that right? It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's something about it because right now we live in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I don't think
Mm.
my kids. So right, and you can't blame them because of what where we live right now. But I think back then it's like at least we got that as a gift, to have some sort of type of street smarts, be a little bit tougher,
Mm.
than norm. So that's what I kind of got from Carson, really, and I just loved. I don't know, I just love the diversity in Carson. I mean, I was used to it. I honestly wasn't used to hang around with white people. Really, it was all everyone else but white people.
What
Is
what
that what you?
what yeah, what was crazy, and you mentioned about being Navy brats. We lived up and down California as well at the Navy bases, and had
Right.
a chance to live overseas. But um, yeah, I mean, this is the last place my dad retired, back in 83, 84, Long Beach Shipyard, Long Beach Naval Base, for everybody that remembers that. But prior to that, we actually lived in majority, white communities. So
Where?
for me,
Uh,
for us coming here, especially, I'm
right.
pretty sure for my brother and sister, you guys, you can catch up with them. It was like you said, it was really diverse, for everybody. I had more a chance to get acclimated into it because I was much younger than you guys than them. But my brother got thrown in 10th grade banning. You know what I mean? You know,
Right.
84, 83, 84. So it was like, whoa, coming from majority white, to more diverse with the Samoans and
That's right.
blacks and
You
Mexicans.
guys did Camarillo, right? Was it Camarillo?
Camarillo, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Oxnard
okay.
and San
Just
Diego.
now.
Uh,
Believe me,
yeah.
we've known each other for so long, so that I haven't even thought about that for years. But you guys came from Camarillo.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
remember.
We came from Camarillo, and so that's what I'm saying. And what you touched upon about street smarts, right? And I had the same conversation with my daughter, and she's great. Both of them are great book smart wise. I said, but the lessons that Daddy had to learn at Carnegie, and Banny and Carson as well. And they won't see it until after the COVID stuff, but it's just one of those things. You just want your children to just live a little bit different than what you had to go through, and
Right.
experience different things, maybe a little bit better, obviously better than what you have during that time. But definitely, you know, Carson, I love this place as you guys, and a lot of guys here are chiming up in the chat as well. We got Philly Phil, Future Unlimited Media. He's in.
Huh?
We got a Jordan Bulatao and
My
Mr.
daughter.
Aoki. I
God,
am missing the accent on the Bulatao last name, but yeah, I'm just trying to make it as best as I
you
can
say,
with it.
and I say it very Americanized. Like
Yeah.
I remember I was in the Philippines, and the one time I went and I said my last name to whoever the cashier or whatever, and she got really pissed off at me. She
Mm,
said, "Oh my God, you Americans like to sing your name." I'm like,
mm,
sing? Because I'm so used to saying Bulatao, you know,
yeah.
but it's Bulatao.
You're
I'm
right.
like, I'm not used to saying it that way until, and I thought, man, am I saying it wrong? And then when I went to Hawaii and I met my cousin from
Mm,
Hawaii, uh, his name is Derek
yeah.
Bulatao, or he's actually a big DJ over there, Cutmaster Spaz, but he said it the same way. So I'm like, okay, so is that because of where we came from, So I'm kind of conflicted with that because I've been told that I should change the way I say my name, and also to teach my kids to say it the right way. But am I going to deny that the fact that I grew up here and this is the way I say it, and this is the way that people from Hawaii are saying it? I'm kind of conflicted with that. So I don't know. I'm you're saying it better than me because I say Bulatao. So
Yeah.
that's yes,
And by the way, we got one take Jake. We got your guy Efren was on here, so he says hi now. So, but yeah, just rolling with Carson and you growing up in this area. Like, tell us
yeah.
tell us what else was like. that helped you mold you as far as like growing up? What was the scenes like for you personally, growing up
And
during those high school years?
it's I, again, it's like I don't know if I was like part of the popular crowd. I don't think I was. I liked partying, but then a lot of it back then, and I don't know if you went through this, Harry, because I think you were younger, uh, and I might piss off some people, but I remember back then it was scary. It was kind of scary, just because. Okay, look, my brother was in TBS, so he was in the boys, the gang, what from Carson, and a lot of my friends were, but I wasn't. It just wasn't me. I couldn't do that kind of stuff. So every time I went to like say like a party, I felt like, is this the last time I'm gonna like be alive? Because I felt like that. I honestly felt like we were always gonna get into a fight each time. And so what I did is I would hang around with a certain group. I remember them. It was like Vince Vangelis and all of them, UT, and we were like the party group,
Yes.
right? So it
Yes.
was fun. I loved it. But it got to a point where the more we went out, especially the different cities that had Filipinos, like Cerritos and Walnut or whatever, we would have kind of like a fear of like they would tell me, it's like, hey, you have to be prepared that we have to fight. I'm like, are you serious? Because I don't want to be like my brother. I'm like, that's just not me. And so what helped mold me with that is like I kind of forced myself to get away from that. I forced it. I didn't want to be part of that. As much as I hated leaving my friends because I love Vince and all of them, I had to leave. And so that's kind of what helped me push forward, into you just kind of have to make that decision. Like when you're like, I get it with a 16-year-old, so you want to have fun and party and stuff like that. But if they're leading you the wrong way, it got to the point where I got caught for stealing at Zodi's.
In Cerritos?
Zodi's? No, in Torrance. Here's how old it was. Like, it just feels bad, but I was trying to steal like a record from Earth, Wind and Fire, like the big giant record. And I stuck it in my pants, and I was walking out, and I thought I got away with it, and they like grabbed me from my my belt buckle here, and they're like, "Oh no, you stole something." So at that point, I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this because I didn't want to wind up where my brother was going toward. I could see where my brother was going toward, and I get it. It's fun at that time, but then I had the fear of just failing and not making it in life. So I just had to like remove myself from that.
Well, you guys heard it here first on HBTV. We have a Ben Bulatao tried to steal a 12-inch single from Earth, Wind and Fire at Zodi's for all places, and sticking it down his pants. Not in his like big jacket that he had, but down his pants. But I had forgotten there was a Zodi's there. But a couple questions. A couple answers to your questions as far as did I experience that? You know what? One of my fondest memories was actually I was young, right? Is going to Mike Tandock's house, right? And my dad and I was dropping off my sister at their house, right? Right there around the corner from our house. And man, they were bumping. I don't know if UT was DJing, but that was my first like stepping into the party scene. As for you guys, just looked around. It was a party, fog lights, the fog going on. You guys doing this, and I had to shake because my dad was like, "All right, let's get out of here so your sister can have fun." And big shout out to UT Unique Technique, Alan, Moo, and them, and Alex. And Vince, man, Vince, man. I had a chance to see him a couple years back, and talk to him a little bit. And like you said, that was you guys' crew. My sister and you guys, y'all hung out. So big ups to those guys, OG Carson guys, OG DJs from back in the day. But as far as like, did we experience that in my time? Absolutely, man, absolutely. I'm thinking it was just an overflow of actually what you guys imprinted in all those different cities that we walked in. It's like, oh, Carson dudes, oh man, here we go. So yeah, we had to prepare for that as well. We did go through our experiences but I mean, as you experienced, it was more tribal stuff, and that's how it is,
That's
and
what
it
I
was.
thought. Exactly. I was going to bring that up because I wasn't sure if that was the right term. It was tribalism. I always thought about Filipinos kind of having that natural thing about tribalism. Like there was always this the thing about like competition. And I felt that early on, which I don't feel now. I feel like it's kind of changed now. I feel like there's a certain pride when it comes to being
Hmm.
Filipino now,
Hmm.
more so than then. And so tribalism,
Yeah.
exactly. I honestly, I was glad that you brought that up because I was afraid to bring that up because I wasn't sure if that was the right term.
No, yeah, and absolutely, by nature we're all tribal, right? Back in the Philippines, and again, it's all territory. It's more of who's the biggest bully on the block type of thing, and then you had what was going on in our own community, which sucks, is people from the Philippines. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And Filipino Americans, they didn't mesh well as well. And in some of the cities that you talked about, West Covina and stuff like that. And that's we had those type of groups in those different areas. But no, totally get it. I understand that's where the street smarts definitely come in, and those experiences with that. So yeah, man.
Right.
So during that time in the '80s, tough time. People don't realize that. Tough
Right.
time, tough time, tough time. Reaganomics, you know what I mean? Every corner, different corners, and the drug scenes were either revamped or come back in, especially in our cities and stuff.
Totally.
But you're trying to get away from that, as you said, as you're telling us, and which is cool, right? You
Right.
want to do something else. So now I want to talk more, transitioning from that time of your life, like transitioning into you want to get away, you want to do something else. How does it lead you? I'm just gonna say because I don't know. How does it lead you to more like into either media, multimedia, doing something in the industry with TV? Like what spawned that? Was that at Carnegie? Was that at was that at Carson? Like, did one of the teachers like help you with that, or you know, uh, did you
Right.
were you an audience at one of the shows? Like, how did that spawn for you, and how
Yeah.
did you get interested with that?
That's such a good question. It really is a good question. What happened was like Cheryl and my friend Larry, who has since passed. When we grew up in the same block, we used to do skits, and we would record it on our those tapes, right? What do you call it? It's so old. I mean, I'm dating myself right now. So we would do skits, and then so by the time when we got to college,
Mm,
we would keep doing skits because when we were in college at the time, it was in Living Color. Living
mm,
Color was such a big thing back then, and so we thought we could do the Filipino version. So, Harry, I don't know if you saw our shows because it was actually broadcast on Carson cable. It was like we were called Rats in the Kitchen. It was me, Cheryl, Efren, Manny, Jen. It was just a bunch of us just being stupid on camera. Um, but that's kind of like I've always when I was younger I would write and I it was to the point where have you ever done this, Harry? It's like where I would write so much that I wasn't paying attention to what time it was, and all of a sudden it was like the morning. That's
absolutely.
how into it I was, and so I knew I was more creative. But at the time, I also thought that wouldn't make any money. You couldn't make money doing that. So I think that was my early taste. That was my early taste of like, okay, I'm creative. And so what happened was in Carson High, there was this wonderful teacher, Tracy Petrie. I don't know if you know of her. Uh, she taught Asian American. See, I'm looking at my paper right now because it's like such a long title. I mean, Asian American Pacific Island literature,
Hmm.
and taught that in high school. And she was very inspirational. I loved learning under her. But what happened was I wrote like an essay, and she loved it so much that she turned it into the magazine. It's like a Pacific Islander magazine, Malama magazine, and I got paid $20 for it.
Hmm.
And so when that happened, I was like, oh shit, I can make some um, money being creative. I never knew that. So I have to thank Miss Petrie or Tracy for letting me know that I can do that. So that was kind of like the first part. And then so with Rats in the Kitchen, when we were doing all those skits, at the same time, Laura Lee Elias, do you know Laura Lee Elias? She was running for council at that time, and she was going to be like the youngest ever Filipino American council member, and she won, of course. But at the time, she asked me, she's like, "Hey, check out the cable station, the local cable station, Continental Cablevision in Carson, and see if I can get my my advertising on there." And I went, I did my research, and I saw that they were teaching people how to edit and produce and show their stuff on cable. So I said, "Oh man, I can show our Rats in the Kitchen videos on cable." So that was kind of like my first taste of like, you know, because then I said, "Hey, I want to learn." So they started to teach me how to learn. It was actually linear editing at the time, but I was learning how to do it and posting our stuff, you know, and showing it on cable access. So that was how we got into it, you know. And thank God to Laura Lee that she told me to go there, you know.
Big shout out to Lorelei, Elias, and the Elias family with Gil and everybody. So really quick, you guys are watching Hbtv, the show with your host Harry Bulgarian, and my very special guest tonight is our 5-time Emmy nominated Ben Bulatao, A.C.E. Really quick, in our chat here, in our live chat, we have a couple of your rats in the kitchen joining us tonight. Again, you guys we got Efren Amazon here, and we also have Michelle Roberts in the chat. So she's on here, and great to have everybody on here. Again, you guys, thank you. If you guys have any questions for Ben, please let me know. Just write it out or type it in the chat, and I'll field them the best way I can with my glasses, and if I can see it, because it's really small here. But so that's cool. Okay, so really quick, when you're talking about linear editing, okay, I don't know what that is. Break it down what that is, and talk a little bit about that technology, just a little bit, because we're gonna get into the new technology. But talk about that little technology from back in the day, and linear technology, whatever you're talking about.
No, I totally get it. Okay. Here, let me give you an example. So, after I graduated from UC Irvine to be a dentist, and I graduated in biological sciences, I knew I didn't want to do that. So I was just, I was just flailing around and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And so I wound up taking like a class over at UCLA Extension. It was apprentice editing. I don't know the exact name of it. And so I was like, you know, I was like, okay, at least let me just take this class. Maybe I can do something, and then do something with it. And then so the teacher happened to be a film editor from, I guess, Bernie Balmuth was his name. And he was cursing the fact that editing was starting to go into like nonlinear editing, which is you get to edit through like a computer. So that's avid editing, which is what you guys all do now anyways. Okay. You're not dealing with film, or you're not dealing with video. And so video and film, and I remember doing that stuff too with linear, you would physically deal with the film or video linear because you're physically dealing with it. And with nonlinear, it's like, oh, you just digitize the stuff in and you're editing it in from your computer. So at the time, Bernie Balmuth was just cursing the whole thing. I was just watching him. I'm like, God, this crazy man. He was the editor from Dynasty and some other stuff, but he was just going off about like how, no, there's no way that we are going to switch over to film. We're going to switch over to this nonlinear editing that's done through computers. And at the time when I came in, is when computers were coming up, and I was like, oh no, this is going to happen. I don't know what you're talking about, old man. And so I was like, I felt bad, but at the same time, I knew which direction it was going to go. So nonlinear editing is when you're editing through computer, like you can just digitize that stuff in and just so much easier than physically dealing with film and video itself and just physically just kind of working with it. So, but there's an art to the film editing that, from what I heard, like when you can feel the film and you're editing through it, there's something about it that you can feel it, and I don't know, it's more artistic or something about it. I've never experienced that. I sort of touched on it, but I never experienced it. As you see that the post that I posted today, it was my first job ever on something like that, and it was on the Scarlet Letter with Moore back in 1995, and it was film. And so I'm like working with film and stuff, and I'm splicing and stuff, but it's so physical, actually physically cutting film and doing that. And it's, to me, it's like, God, you could just easily on the computer just press a button.
Yeah. Drag and drop it. Yeah, that's interesting, and I'm sure for the purists out there, just like photography and just like making music and things like that, they're gonna have their school they came from, and there's other people trying to like to use different tools and evolve in different ways. So I get where that instructor was coming from, and obviously you've already accepted the new technology that's going to be coming in, and you were pretty excited about it. I never knew that you graduated with bio and sciences, and you wanted to become a doctor, or you were going to become a doctor. And for all the people watching and people that are going to be watching, one thing about the Filipino family and the Asian community and the families as well. So you either are going to be a doctor or a nurse or an engineer, or a priest, or a priest or a nun. So if you're not going to make that big money, at least help your mom out there get closer to heaven by becoming a priest or a nun. So no, that's truth, man. That's 100. But no, that's interesting that from life sciences, or from the sciences, and you became this editor. That's awesome. Well, that's awesome.
Here's the thing about that. It's like, and I think I know a lot of Filipinos that actually go through it today, and a lot of Asian Americans. It's like your parents always want you. Of course, they're worried about how you're gonna turn out and stuff. So they're like, oh, just do the medical thing, and that's what that was my dad. My dad wanted me to pursue and just be a dentist. And it's interesting because I was kind of surprised I went through with it. I was like, okay, you know what, because I had no game plan. I'm like, I didn't know what I wanted to do back then. And so I went through it. I actually graduated from UCI with a biological sciences degree, which I'm proud of. But I never did anything with it. and because I knew in the end, I'm like, I don't want to be a freaking dentist. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this. No, I don't. Go ahead. And so I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm not. And then my dad was so pissed off. It was to the point where, I went to a Filipino family party over on Desford, right? And they were like, oh, Benji, your dad is in the back. Why don't you go say hi to him? I'm like, okay, I guess. And so I went to the back because we already had a strained relationship. I went to the back. I go, oh, hey, Daddy, how are you doing? And he just got up right away, and then he just said, Benji, here's your, I don't know what the name of the uncle was, but I'll just say, here's your Uncle Larry. He's from the Philippines. He became a dentist. What did you do with your education? In front of everyone. He said that in front of everyone. And I just like looked at him. And, honestly, normally you don't disrespect a Navy dad because he will freaking do a lot of damage.
Sure.
But at that time, I was so pissed, and I just looked at him. I'm like, well, I make more money than you, don't I? And then he just looked at me. He's like, he just like his mouth dropped, And then my Uncle Romy, which is from my mom's side, just stood up. He's like, "Oh, Benji, I saw your I saw your name in the credits last week. I'm so proud of you." And then I go, "Oh, thank you, Uncle Romy." And I just like walked out. But I was just like, God, this guy, he just really put me out there. He was so pissed that I followed his way. And so I'm just telling the people out there, it's like, it's nice to try to make it good with your parents, but after a while, if it becomes toxic like that, there just comes a time when you just kind of have to cut it and say, you know what, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And so that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, and you're right. I fall into that trap as well as like you said that parents just want their kids to be in a great position, and we as parents, we do try to get them in places to be as successful as they can, and try to learn from our mistakes and things like that. Don't know the situation of that party and where your dad's mindset was for that, but my dad as well, and a lot of the older generation, they're not so good at smoothing out their words with stuff. Like, for example, I don't know if you've ever been to a family party, where they say, "Come eat now." You're just like, "All right, let's eat," and then they say, "Man, you look like you're getting fatter." You're just like, "What?" You know what I mean? Or like, when is your next kid? Or things like that, right? So after a while, you're just like, whatever's with it. But not totally understand, and thank you for sharing that part of your life and journey.
It's like, I didn't mean to overshare on that, but I just want people to know, it's like, sometimes, okay, here's the thing. It's like, I'm all about like you trying to make it work out with your parents, because they're the only ones that you got. But there comes a point in time when if it becomes toxic, and it was toxic for me, that you just kind of have to let them go. And then ever since that happened, my life has been perfect. So I think for those who are out there, it's like, if it just gets to that point, it's okay to let it go. That's the only thing I say. But at the same time, I'm like, please just work on trying to like fix your relationship with your parents. But there comes a time though, and you'll know when it's like, you know what, this is not working, and it's just worse on me. It's like, it's making me it makes me feel horrible. I would just move on.
Man, I wish I took the same stance as you did with my DJing and playing video games. You know what? I could be like a EA Sports champion right now, making $50K just playing video games, or dropping a cool set for DJing for $1 million a set. But again, you guys are watching HBTV, the show with your host Harry Bugarin, and my special guest tonight, 5-time Emmy nominated Ben Bulatao Ace. We got, I think her name is Myra Uehara. She had stated in the chat, you can see you should have stayed at Desford or something like that. You see what happens when you leave the neighborhood family. And then Jen B, I'm gonna assume this is your wife. She says Ben went to St. Philomena and Stephen White, and was supposed to go to Bishop, but instead took the Torrance Transit bus to take the Bishop test, and stopped at Del Amo Mall to play at Aladdin's Castle video game. So I guess you didn't make it. You didn't make the test, which is cool.
Here's a funny. What happened was, like, I don't know why I did this. We were all going to take the test to go to Bishop, and we were taking that number 3 bus. Remember the number 3 bus all the way to Bishop to take the test. And then for some reason, I got up. I don't know what it was. Like, it's like God kind of like pulled my head up, and I just started to walk out. And then Lloyd went, and some other people followed me. I'm like, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't want to take the test." And I just walked off. And so I made that decision right there, just not to go to Bishop. I don't know why I didn't want to. Bishop's a great school, and they did great there. All my friends did great there, but for me, it was isn't me. And so I went home, and I told my mother. I was really scared. I was like, "Mom, I didn't take the test." And then she looked at me, and then she's like, "Thank God," because it cost so much to get you guys that private school cost so much. She like hugged me. I was like, all right, I should have quit a lot earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and plus I wouldn't have met Jen.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, this is the thing about like, I think things are supposed to happen for a reason. I think God steps in sometimes and picks you up and goes, here, go this way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my belief. I don't know if other people believe that, but I believe that.
No, I mean, I think that's great that you say that. As far as that, I truly believe that, you know, God, the Lord, or whatever you believe in, the higher power, does put people in play in your life for whatever time it is. Could be short, could be long. You know, I'm pretty sure you have you know, your friends from the 70s probably you still keep in touch with, and you know, there's some people that you came across in your life as well during your journey that, you know, was good for that time or maybe bad for that time, but you know, you guys have split ways, and we all go through that, and I truly believe that it just helps to build who you are and mold who you are. And I truly believe that as well. But yeah, I think everybody has a Bishop story. You know, I was planning to go to Bishop. A lot of my cousins went to Bishop. You know, my wife went to Bishop. All of her family went to Bishop, and my good friends at the time, you know, they were there, and they just graduated, and I was like, man, I was here all the time anyways. I might as well try it. So I went to go play summer league for Bishop. Got on the team, was a starting point guard for their sophomore team, and the coach at the time, you know, Mitchell, who's still there, Coach Mitchell, you know, he brought me in. He's like, Harry, man, I can't help you with any scholarships. I'm brand new here. And they slapped me with this bill. You know, I showed it to my mom, and she was like, nah, I can't, you ain't going there. So I didn't end up going there. You know, it is what it is. It would have been cool, I guess, to ball out for Bishop during that time. But great school, great people who graduate there. A lot of successful people coming out of Bishop as well. So just going on, you know, from that time at Desford Street at that family party, just moving on. And, you know, you moving forward with what you're doing with this, right? So tell us a little bit about, like, any challenges or big breaks to get you into the industry and really, you know, getting your hooks in and saying, you know, Ben Bulatao is going in full steam with this.
Well, I mean, it's kind of okay. So, yeah, the class I told you about where I was at UCLA Extension.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I just took it, whatever. And then what happened was at the end of the class, like, this girl walked up to me, and she's like, "Hey, let's exchange numbers." And then it's like, okay, and I'm like, whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, let's just exchange numbers. Like, if something comes up, let me know. And if something comes up, I'll let you know." And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, okay. So it's not a pickup line. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think anything of it. But here's the thing, and it's just such a big thing, actually. What happened was she had, I guess she had called me because back then, I guess you don't really call. She called me and she said, "Hey, I have an interview for this one infomercial place, and I can't do it." And she's like, do you want to do it? Can you take it up? I'm like, sure, I'll do it. And then so I went over to be interviewed by this editor, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, I have no experience, but yeah, I want to work for you." Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "Oh, cool." And I guess what's going to be, it's like I was going to digitize stuff in. It's like the very bottom part, like you're just putting footage into the system. And I told him, I go, "But I don't know how to work the admin. I don't even know how to work a computer." That's how long ago it was. I go, "If you teach me for free," and this is the main thing, it's like I go, "If you teach me for free, I will do everything you want me to do, and I will prove to you that I'm worthy of working with you guys." So, and at the time I had a day job over at City Cable Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm willing to work for free because I'm living with my parents right now. So I'm okay. I don't have to pay mortgage. I can do this. And so he's like, okay. And so I worked my ass off. that whole night, every night, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually fun. I enjoyed everything about it. And then they loved my work, so they hired me. They actually hired me to. They started to pay me, so I'm like, oh wow, that's a good thing. And so I went to the Christmas party, and at the Christmas party, because no one sees me, I was working graveyard, so no one ever saw me. And a lady walked up to me. She's like, "Oh, so you're Ben Bulatao? You do such great work. I want to take you with me. I'm leaving this company. I'm going over to the company that does A&E biography, and I'm gonna like take you there. Do you want to come with me?" I'm like, "Yeah." I just said yes. Like
Yes.
I had what I was saying. And she's the one that took me to Amy biography, all that stuff there. I became an editor. And then she took me to original productions where I wound up on like Monster Nation, Ice Road Truckers, and Storage Wars, and then
Wow.
Catch. I never had to interview all those years because I knew that one person. So I'm just saying, with and you always have that question of like if there's an some type of advice that you have, it's like, yeah, you know what, you just have to. You never know which person that you meet is going to take you to that next level, and so just don't burn bridges, and
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you make as many connections as possible. And so yeah, this girl took me all the way to this lady, Darla Marasco, took me all the way to this without me having to interview for anyone. I mean, it's just kind of crazy because I know of a lot of editors that have to go from job to job to job and interview and interview and interview. No, I got it through her and my company. They know my work and they have a lot of work going, so they keep offering me jobs. So I've been lucky to keep working. I mean, even to this day, I'm working. I've been working through COVID because of this. So yeah, it's been great.
That's amazing. You actually had a Jerry Maguire goldfish type of experience. Like, who's with me?
Really? I never,
You ever watched Jerry Maguire where he was
no.
like, who's with me? I'm taking the goldfish and I'm going to another company or making my own company. Wow, that's really cool stuff, man. That you had that opportunity and those blessings and you were able to get those experience with it. So, man, you kind of listed a lot of the shows, right? A lot of those shows, like that's really cool. Like
Yeah.
Storage Wars. I've never watched an episode of Storage Wars, but it sounded pretty cool. I saw some commercials and stuff, but tell me about those experiences from going from one, two, three, four, five.
Right.
Like, what did you learn? What did you take from there? And like, how did that like each one raise you up just a little bit? In the notches of being a better editor for yourself.
Well, that's what I like about working on all these different shows. You become like a jack of all trades because you
Mm.
start to learn about different subjects that you never thought about before. You know, I would have never thought about like storage wars and bidding and all that stuff and Deadliest Catch and like figure out like, crab fishing and what it takes to get into that, and all the different experiences I've had, even with like biography, just learn any biography where you start like editing about all the celebrities from the past. I start learning from all those people from the past. And it's like you just learn so many crazy things that you normally would not know if you just went through life.
Mm.
So I just love that. I love the fact that I can like I kind of like a jack of all trades, right? You just know so many things, you know. Even Floribama Shore that I worked on, I learned how to like party like they all did.
Nice.
But but I'm just saying, it's just like you just learn from all these people's experiences, and
Mm.
I'm such a people person. And I love learning about different people, and so it just this everything that I'm doing right now is just such a blessing. I mean, I'm having fun working. I mean, how many people can say that? Like they're having fun
Mm-hmm.
working.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just something you always kind of, even from like I just finished like a true crime show and
Mm.
learning about that and learning
Yeah.
how they investigate stuff. And so I just kind of love learning about all this stuff.
So
So yeah.
so real quick question. Like, tell us, um, let's just say that. Tell us about the timeline as far as like a project that you have, just like that true crime one, right? Something that
Right.
you just got into. They say, hey Ben, you have X amount of time, and so like take us through the day of an editor. Like, what do you need to do? What is the grind like for an editor? Because I know it's not just cut and paste now. You know what I mean? I know
Right.
you just don't put it on a timeline or
No.
whatever, but just yeah, let us know like what that grind is. What time do you usually start the day until the finish with it? I mean not for the whole project, but I'm just saying like one
Don't laugh,
segment of that day.
don't laugh because like now that we're especially working from home, we can kind of start whenever we want to. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Like, and they ever know that we start like say at 12 noon, but normally we would start like say like with me because I would have to drive all the way to Burbank. I would start at 11 actually. But now that we're working from home, I can start from 9. You know what I mean? It's been a blessing, actually. This whole COVID quarantine thing has been a blessing because I can work from home. I don't have to drive. I don't have to like stress out or because when you drive to work and you get to work, you still need some time to like just decompress and figure it out. When you're working from home, you're like, you wake up, turn on your computer, and you can just start working right away. And for a time, I've always been praying that uh, these production companies would let us work from home. I thought it was actually like kind of obvious that we should be, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's never going to happen. But when COVID hit, they're like, oh shit, we have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
They were so against it. I remember in the beginning, like when all this was going down, I was like having arguments with people around me, and then when it happened and we were working from home, they're like, "Oh my God, you guys are turning out some good work, way better than what you would have done if you were here." It's
Mm-hmm.
because we're home and we can like just like maximize our hours and work whenever we want. If we have like an inspiration at 3 in the morning, we're like, "Oh shit, okay, let me get on that. I
Mm-hmm.
can fully work from home and just edit and do whatever I want to do." So yeah, it's like, I mean, I forgot the question you asked me, but I just feel like remotely it's been so much better that we can kind of work from home. It usually takes about 6 weeks to do like a rough cut of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I'm sorry, 4 weeks to do a rough cut of the show, and then 6 weeks to kind of finish it, and
I
then
see.
up to the finishing editors that would finish it up. So it's usually about 6 weeks that it would take for us to do a show. And yeah, and so that's pretty much it.
I mean,
But
you really wake up at 3 a.m. when you get inspired and be like, man, I gotta go cut this.
it's so funny. It's I don't even wake up because I'm awake already.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing something, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, we're doing something. I'm like, oh wait, it's 3 in the morning. Oh yeah, I can do this. It's like, yeah, it's so stupid.
So, I mean,
And then,
as far as software, do you guys use Adobe Pro or like Final
no,
Cut? Like, what do you guys use in your industry?
it's always been Avid, and I've been kind of like a proponent of Avid, like just use Avid because Final Cut Pro and everything else, Premiere kept trying to come up. I'm like, no, no, just use Avid. But at the same time, I should learn how to do the others. I should
Mm.
humble myself and learn how to do the others, but I haven't yet. So yeah, I'm not too humble.
All good. Again, you guys are. Well, thanks for being honest. Again, you guys are watching HBTV, the show with your host, Harry Bulgarian, and thank you guys for joining us tonight. I'm here with my special guest, 5-time Emmy nominated Ben Bulatao. And, we got a couple of comments here, Ben. One from Phil. He's just going off right now, and then he's just
He's
cracking over
kind of
here. But
was it like a put down?
no. He's never gonna put down. He's just talking over here. It's funny. You got to read the comments later with it. But one thing I wanted to ask you. And I talked a little bit about this with AJ Calamay, and shout out to him for putting out the
As a
movie. And congratulations on his baby. He
right,
just got a daughter. Lumpia with a Vengeance. Go check that out and make sure you guys
right.
hit up AJ. But as far as yourself, I know you had, your experience is a little bit different from AJ's, right? Um,
Oh,
but you had that opportunity to go with the, I forgot her name, the lady that said, "Hey, come with me. I'm gonna leave this
Darla,
company and go here."
Darla, my
Um,
God, she's helped a lot of editors, by the way.
oh,
Yeah,
awesome. Um, not playing any race cards, but just talking
yeah,
about you being Filipino and talking about the Filipino community. As far as Filipinos, or yeah, let's just say Filipinos in the industry as an editor in those roles, male or female. What was it like, you starting, and then over the years going through? Have there been an insurgence of a lot of Filipinos and Asians coming into Hollywood and the industry that way, or is it still like at the, not bottom, but like low level as far as the company you're with?
yeah. Again, a good question. No, I have. It's kind of conflicting with that, actually. It's interesting because coming up, like I just kind of did everything on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't rely on like say because now like they have that thing where it's like you should hire more because you want to be more inclusive, so they're going to hire more like people of color. I never thought about that back then when I was like, you know what, just let my work show.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was me the whole time. And so coming up, my people of influence was like L'Oreal Elias. It was people like that. It was not people in the industry, but it was more just people that like L'Oreal Elias that would give me just great like advice that kept me going. But I I never relied on anyone coming up, which is interesting because at the same time, it's like I kind of neglected helping the Filipino American community, and I felt bad about that because I was just coming up. I was just trying to like come up for myself, you know. So I was like, okay, you know what? Everything I'm doing right now is just like it's because of me, because no one else is going to help me. Because at the time, no one was helping us, and so um, I I honestly did not realize the impact that I would have until I started getting nominated. And then when I started getting nominated, and then TFC would post stuff about me and other things, people would start reaching out to me. I'm like, why are they reaching out to me? Because would they really want to know what I want to say? And so it just kept happening. It was crazy. Like for the last because I've been nominated for the last 5 years in a row for an Emmy, and just people kept reaching out to me, and I'm like, oh wow, I can actually make a difference. I never knew that coming up, and I feel bad that I didn't know that earlier because I would have started earlier. Believe me, I would have started earlier, and I didn't because I just thought, you know what, I just had to kind of make it for myself. Mm-hmm. So now that I've been getting all these accolades and people have been like seeing me on TFC or whatever, I honestly, I'm just open to anyone that comes to me, and I'm willing to help out. Like mm-hmm. I want to help. I want to give people help that I never had before. Because I was always going to say that I never had help from people, but no, I did. I had help from a lot of people, like Tracy Petrie from Carson High and Laura Lee Elias and stuff like that. But when it comes to the industry itself, no, I didn't have as much help. And I'm proud of the fact that I was actually to make it on my own, like just figure it out on my own. But not everyone else is going to do that. So I want to help. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to help whatever I can, like advice and just to help them.
Yeah, I think that's a tough position. Like you said, no one was there helping you out with your grind, really. I mean, you did it on your own, and
which I feel bad. I honestly didn't feel bad because I was like, okay, because I just thought it was just the thing to do. I was like, you know what, you just figure it out.
No, and you're right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guests that I've talked to as well. One of their messages is, pay your dues. Gotta pay your
Right.
dues. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So you're in a
yeah.
unique position, obviously, with where you've been and what you've worked for and what you've gotten, what you have, and so I think there is a way to help and mentor, without just being that person to give little huge things or amounts with someone just having their hand out, if you know what I mean. So no, I think people go through that as far as like, hey man, I gotta do me. I gotta get mine first before I can actually help somebody out, and that's true. You
Right.
can't
Right.
obviously help somebody out when you're just barely climbing. So no, that's all good, man. And again, just congratulations on the 5 times nominations. That's 5 stars for you on the
It's crazy.
nomination. That's really
I
cool.
I I can't even believe it. Like
Mm.
I was like kind of looking at like because they give you like a certificate of all the nominations, and I started to look at it because I was trying to like gather all the information about what I should tell you about the years I was nominated and all that, and I
Yeah.
just kept down. It's all on the wall because like it's all in pictures and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh damn,
Well,
this
well,
is
well, well. Since you talked about the list and everybody, you guys can Google Ben Bulatao and everything he's done. But the list here, okay, we're gonna go down with the 5, man. This is like Laker championships right here. 5. We're just listing. 2016 outstanding picture editing. 4. The Deadliest Catch. We got 2017 outstanding picture editing for Deadliest Catch. 2018 Deadliest Catch. 19 and 20 as well. So man, that's some good stuff. You guys can check him out. There's a website out there, emmys.com, Ben Bulatao, and it's all listed there. So great stuff with the accolades there, and thank
it's
you.
crazy.
Just go ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
it's crazy because it's like even like I've been nominated 4 times for an Ace Eddie Award, which is like even just as big because it's from the editors itself, and for me to even make it into the Ace program, it's not even the program, even thing. It okay, so I was gonna say because okay, here you go, because I'm like looking at a paper
Yeah,
right now.
go ahead.
American Cinema Editors is an honorary society of editors voted and based on the quality of their work, education of others, and dedication to the craft. But the thing about ACE is like if you get like accepted in there, it's like it's hard. It's so hard to get in, and you
Mm.
have to go through a rigorous like interview process to get in to get the letters ACE after your name. But for some reason, with me, they're like, no, we're just gonna invite you. You don't have to go through that because I suck at interviews. So I was like, oh, really? And at the time, I didn't know what ACE was. But
Yeah.
now when I think about it, all the top editors are in there. It's like being like a doctor because you can
Mm.
actually have that ACE after your name for all your credits. Um, and it's such a huge thing, and the fact that I've like actually connected with more of the scripted editors now, and I'm starting to see all this stuff, like believe me, it's such a big huge thing, but I didn't realize that coming up, which I'm kind of glad too because I would have been trying so hard to get into it.
Hmm.
But thank God I didn't know about it, and thank God that they added me without even me having the interview. So it was awesome.
No, that's really cool, man. Congratulations on that. And just a couple more questions and a couple of things before our time is up
Oh,
here. And yeah, and again, just what I do ask a lot of my guests as far as what messages do you have? What other messages would you have for those individuals who are interested in doing what you're doing, TV, film editing, and being in the industry? Um,
right.
what 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 would you say to them if
I
you saw
do a
them?
question, and so like I kind of wrote. You see, I'm like looking down here. I wrote
Yeah.
it down. No, honestly, it's like if you're in college, take advantage of all the internships that you can because, like, you want to make your connections with people. Like I said, I made my connection with Darla Marasco from my days in Infinity, just from that one meeting with her at a Christmas party. And she took me all the way through all the years to Deadliest Catch. And so, come on, it's like you have to make sure that you make your connections with people and make sure you're good with people. Don't burn your bridges. So I think that's my main thing. And also the other thing is my main thing too is rejection is protection. Have you heard of that saying? Rejection is protection?
No.
Because, and so I know that our time is limited. So what happened was when I graduated from UC Irvine, I was flailing. So I was like, okay, so what should I do? Okay, I'll do an Asian American Studies program because I was part of the media action for Asian Americans. I was marching with, what's his name? Oh, God, what is his name? I was marching with that big guy. But what it was is like, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna. Oh God, I kind of lost my thought right here. But what it is like, I need to. Why have I lost? I've lost my. I'm trying to figure it out. What it is like. Man, honestly, I'm sorry. Harry,
No. Just like what message you would give those guys, and you're saying don't burn those bridges, and you made your connections with Darla and such like that. So, those were the messages with not for people who wanting to get into this industry, the same thing that you were doing as well. So. The guests that I had as well, it's like I said, they echo the same type of message that you have with it, which way you were getting at with that. And also, I do want to field one of these questions from the chat. Okay, so here's a question for you from one of our chats here. It's actually from my wife, and she says, How closely do you work with the director during the editing process? All right. Editing can completely change the story or how you perceive the characters. So do you and the director have a plan or storyboard, or like what's the process with that, if anything, or are you free to do whatever you need to with the scenes in that episode?
No, luckily with Deadliest Catch, we get to kind of like run with it. Mm-hmm. And they and plus I've worked with them so long that they trust what direction I'm going with. And if they didn't like it, then they would tell me like, no, we should go this, and I can just do that really quick.
Yeah.
But I always wind up pretty close to what they want, and so I a lot of times with the EPs, the executive producers, they're like, okay, that's fine, and they don't really mess with us too much. Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's really cool. Well, Ben, thank you for your time, for being here on the show on Hbtv, and we had a lot of engagement with our guests here on the chat.
Right.
A bunch of friends and family. My sister is on here as well. She says hi, Benji. You know what I mean? So, and again, for everybody, I've known Ben, through my sister, and he's been a close family friend of ours since 84, 85. He's been there, and I remember him as a kid, especially when my father passed away back in 85. He was always there for my sister, and he was always there for us. He'd always come by and check up on it. So, thank you for that, Ben, for being there during that time of my life and my family's life and my sister's life as well.
No,
and
your dad reminded me of my dad, honestly. And I think what happened was, like, at the funeral, my dad showed up to your dad's funeral, which shocked the hell out of me because he didn't know your dad. And but they look very similar. And so I was, what are you doing here? And he's just like, I just had to be here. I'm like, okay. But it's just, there was something about your dad. And I remember your dad like chased us off, me and the Carbonells, when we went to go Faye, and he chased us off. Uh, but I always thought he was like the coolest guy. I mean, he was tough, but he was cool, and I'm glad.
Wait, chase you off? How did he chase you guys off?
He yelled at us. He
Um,
said some words, and of course, me and the Carbonells, of course,
yeah.
we're not gonna stay there. We just ran. We're like, oh shit, you
Yeah,
know.
well, shame on you, Ray and Gary, for coming up to my front door. You're talking about them, right? Ray and Gary
Yes,
Carbonell. Okay, okay, okay.
so stupid. Yeah, it was funny. I felt stupid the whole time, but then yeah, but Faye and I have been best buds the whole time, so
Yeah,
be a problem. But yeah, your dad had a problem with us visiting. I
that's
think he was
hilarious.
he was threatened by our looks or something. I don't.
those guys there. But hey, thank you, Ben, for joining me. And it's been a while, since you and I had a chance to talk. And congratulations and blessings to all your accomplishments and what you have done. Whether you accept it or not, you are a trailblazer for the Filipino community. Whether you like it or not, they're
I know.
attached to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying like, hey man, he's one of us. And thank you for sharing your journey and your passion. And hopefully, and I know they will, when people watch this episode, they're gonna say, hey, man, he's one of us. He's from Carson. I want to be like that dude.
That's
Guys or
what
girls or children, whatever, they're gonna be inspired by this. I totally believe that, and I'm inspired by it as well. So thank you for taking that time and mentioning that. And much love and success, man. To everything that you do moving forward. And I hope you get that number 6 nomination and get more under that list. And
right. Win finally. You just get that.
yeah, man. Hey, you know what, the nominations there is cool. Yeah, it'll come, right? It'll come. So just keep pumping out that great work, man. And again, like I said, love and success, and you stay safe. Tell Jen and your family thank you for giving us the time to sit with you tonight and just learn more about you and what you do, brother. So thank you.
No, thanks, buddy. I appreciate what you're doing right now. You're doing so much good for our community, and showcasing like all the positive from our community. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ben. Well, you have a blessed rest of your night and a blessed work week. And I'll keep in touch, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, buddy. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Well, that was our special guest tonight, 5-time Emmy nominated Ben Bulatao. So he was there to share his passion, what he does and what he loves to do, being a TV editor. Learned a lot from him, and it was good to get with him and be in touch with him. It's been a while since the last time that we had a talk, but he's doing great. I mean, the man does not age. I'm telling you, he still looks like he's back in 85, 86. I don't know what it is, but somebody get those secrets, man, because the guy, perfect hair, still no wrinkles on the guy's face. The guy's awesome. But Ben Bulatao, Google him, get with his stuff, check him out. Deadliest Catch, Bloodlines. I think he's working on that as well. So thank you guys for joining us for a little bit over an hour. This has been season 2. This is the second to last episode. I got a great episode next week at the same time with Hat. He is a producer for music and a DJ. So check him out. Join me next week, 6 p.m. for the final episode of season 2. So you guys stay blessed and stay safe out there. And thank you again.